each other make good choices. Almost. Yes, he's just baby. I like the whole. I like holding. So,
Okay, good morning, brothers and sisters. I'm so happy to see you. I'd be even happier if I could see all those people that are outside as well. It's time to come in, and we're going to get started. So, a very important announcement. Welcome. Second most important announcement is, I know you all want to dive into that sale outside, but it's not happening until afterwards. So you won't miss anything if you come inside now. By the way, just for that information, our longtime member of our community, Mr. Nabatani, is having a moving sale, and so that is his stuff. It's not the grand Sunday school tag sale, not yet. That may be happening sometime, but that's all for Mr. Nabatani. Okay. Right. Next announcement, EPIC, Embodying Principles in Culture. It's a summer program that happens in, is it still happening in Gloucester? It is? Okay. Gloucester, Massachusetts. So the early bird deadline, you might notice, is today. So if you want to get a good deal, it's time to register for it. And next Sunday, there will be, look at all those amazing people up there. Dr. Young, who's been our continental leader for the last more than 2.5 years, and our former national leader, Reverend Dunkley, and our current national leader, they're all going to be thrown into a blender and spit out in different places. So there's going to be an inauguration and an appreciation service. You are all encouraged to go to the New Yorker Hotel for this. But if you can't make it there, we will have a live stream of the event here.
Do we know what room at the New Yorker?
Do we know what room?
Yeah. What
We know very little at the moment. So hopefully things will become clearer as the week goes on. So make sure you check your emails. Sub basement too. It's going to be a big event, so it's probably going to be in the grand ballroom. So yes, encouraged to go. And finally, don't really need to look at that, but we'd love to get your feedback on every aspect of the service. And you can always scan a QR code or fill out a little paper in the little table in the back. Also prayer requests. So you're welcome to put in a prayer request. Okay, so thank you, everybody. Let's welcome up the song team to liven us up a little bit and create some spirit in here. Well, thank you very much, Dominic.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Uncle Dominic. And hello and happy Sunday to everybody. Hopefully we get you all a little motivated, a little energy going. Yes, sir. Ready. Through silent darkness comes His constant spirit. His words of truth and light wake us up from sleep. Glory, oh glory, oh glorious Lord. Welcome, oh welcome, oh welcome. In that giving all you have to our Lord, one with our God, sharing love and beauty evermore. For now the day all men desire, day of celebration is at hand. Sunrise and morning comes, we rise up in His light. Spread forth the word of good, giving all your strength. Glory, oh glory, oh glorious Lord. Welcome, oh welcome, oh welcome. You're now giving all you have to our Lord, one our God, sharing love and beauty evermore. For now the day all men desire, day of celebration is at hand. Oh, holy children, you come, new days have come. March forward, one and all, quickly now unite. Glory, oh glory, oh glorious Lord. Welcome, oh welcome, oh welcome. In now giving all you have to our Lord, one our God, sharing love and beauty evermore. For now the day all men desire, day of celebration is at hand. Thank you very much. Y'all sound great. Feeling a little bit of energy. Next we'll be doing This Little Light of Mine. Get ourselves excited for that, right? This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let Satan blow it out, I'm gonna let it shine. Let Satan blow it out, I'm gonna let it shine. Satan, blow it out. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. My heart and in my soul, I'm gonna let it shine. My heart and in my soul, I'm gonna let it shine. My heart and in my soul. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Oh, hearts and parents, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, hearts and parents, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, hearts and parents, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Cause I feel it's heaven, I'm gonna let it shine. Cause I feel it's heaven, I'm gonna let it shine. Cause I feel it's heaven, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine.
I think it's somebody right there letting it shine.
Yeah, I know. We got a couple of kids dancing in the front, which is perfect. You did great. All right, for this last one, we're going to bring it down a little bit in the sense of reach out into our spiritual selves, the forgiveness and love that God brings us. So Amazing Grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now was blind, but now I see. It's grace that taught my heart to fear. Grace my fears relieve. How precious is grace of the hour I first believed. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior, has ransomed me. And like the flood, His mercy reigns. Unending love, amazing grace. The Lord has promised you to me. His word, my hope secures. My shield and all has life endured. My chains are gone, I've been set free. God, my Savior, has ransomed me. And like a flood, His mercy reigns. Unending love, amazing grace. My chains are gone, my chains are gone. I've been set free, I've been set free. My God, my unending love, amazing grace. The earth shall soon dissolve like snow. The sun forbear to shine. But God who called will be alone, will be forever mine, will be forever mine. You are forever mine. Thank you very much.
Amazing grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Let us pray. Beloved Heavenly Parents, thank you so much for your love. We hope you're doing well. We want to invite you into our hearts today. So many beautiful things are happening in our lives. We have spring. We have a change of the seasons. Now we're experiencing change in our leadership. This requires a lot of faith. A lot of faith. A lot of soul searching. A lot of depth of heart. But you have been an amazing parent to us. Your amazing grace has given us a sweet, sweet, sweet sense of love and understanding, embracing change, and growing with change. Change is rough, but it's so important for us to change our lives. We thank you for our beautiful, beloved, true mother and her insight, and her heart, the depth of her heart and her soul is boundless. We thank you for all our brothers and sisters who give everything. We behold you, our beloved Heavenly Parent, and we love you. And we pray that your presence will continue to be with each and every one of us, giving us your health and strength, and we returning it to you bountifully. I report these things to you in the name of Raul Joseph. Remember the blessed central family. About you.
Thank you, Raul, for that beautiful prayer. Well, brothers and sisters, I have big news. Pastor Justin is in the house. He is back from Korea. And are we so glad? Somebody else is back from Korea too. Congratulations to Taka and Angelica. Is there anybody else who came back from Korea? So as you probably heard, our whole movement's being turned upside down and is now topsy-turvy. And it's a great time to have a sermon about the fundamentals of our faith. Back to basics. So let's welcome up again our Pastor Justin Oakwood.
Thank you, Dominic. Good morning, brothers and sisters.
Good morning.
Good to see you all again. I missed you. Thank you. So today I'm going to be talking about faith fundamentals, and as Dominic mentioned, we're going through a big transition in our movement, when we go through these kinds of changes, it's very important for us to get back to those basics of believing in God and our faith. But before I get into the sermon, I wanted to share a little bit about my trip because I've been gone for about 19 days. For those of you who don't know, I'm happy to be back. And I was in Japan, I was in Korea, I was also in Thailand, and I've probably been on more flights this past month than I ever want to be again. But for me, the best part of going to Korea is always the people that I get a chance to meet, the people I get to talk to. Young Mizuguchi is there, and also got to spend some time with Uncle Bill was there as well. Every time I get a chance to meet with our leaders of our movement, I'm always reminded of how lucky I am to be in this community. We had also GPA, which is these young people who are in this kind of missionary training program. They were all there. I think it was around 80 of them were there. Danthy was there too, also. And no matter what happens, when I just go back to, wow, I'm so lucky to have these brothers and sisters from all around the world. I'm so lucky to be a part of this global community. And if you haven't got a chance to visit Korea, I definitely want to encourage you to go. It's incredible there. It's always different every time I go. They're always developing, and this time was no exception to that. I also had a chance to visit Thailand and a chance to meet Max. This is Max, who is our administrative assistant. Some of you don't know what he looks like, but he's been in the background doing a lot of our data management and our flyers and putting together some PowerPoints. And it was actually my first time meeting him in person. I was so grateful. He took really good care of us in Thailand. His wife is Thai, and her family really treated us well. Again, it's so amazing to be a part of this global family. Everywhere you go in this world, once you're a part of our family, you have a place to stay. You have people to visit, to show you around, and it's just so amazing to see the global kind of family that our Father and Mother Moon have created. We got to introduce my son and their son, and they became really close friends very quickly. He's 2 years old, and he was just following Yoma around, and I like a older brother. And we also got a chance to visit the church in Thailand and see the missionaries who have been there, who've been laying a foundation there for many years. I'm really grateful that I had this opportunity to go on this trip, and especially want to just thank Pastor Daryl and Pastor Mika for holding the fort down while I was gone, and for all the support from all you brothers and sisters. Please give them and yourselves a round of applause. Thank you so much. So back to today's topic on faith fundamentals. I think it's always important to go back to the fundamentals of our faith. And this is really something, not just when we're talking about faith, but everything in life. If we want to master something, it's always important to go back to the fundamentals of it. Whether that be, you want to get good at a sport, whether it's basketball, volleyball, right? You have to always practice those fundamentals of dribbling and shooting and passing. Martial arts, right? You have to learn those basic, punches and kicks and do those just over and over again. Or if you're a musician, to go through those scales so that you become through practicing the fundamentals, you become really great at something. Bruce Lee once said, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." For myself, some of you don't know this, but back in the day, I practiced judo for a long time. I used to go with my dad. And so every time we would go to the dojo, they'd have us practice, a new throw, a new flip, and they'd have us, break it down into, motion by motion and practice that, 10, 20, 30 times until those motions become natural and you can just do those, right? I see Koji-san is a fellow practitioner. See, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. And I'll be honest. I used to think that this part of the class was the boring part of class. I'm like, oh, when are we gonna, get to the fun stuff? But it was also such an amazing feeling when you start sparring with each other and you get to practice and use this new throw in your sparring, and such an amazing feeling to feel, using this new technique. But it all comes from that practice of just those fundamentals to the point where it becomes natural and a part of our life. If anybody's curious whether or not I still have my judo skills, you're free to meet me after service, and we can figure that out. But yeah, let's talk about the fundamentals of faith. First of all, just defining what is faith anyway? What faith isn't and what faith actually is. We'll start off with what faith isn't. One thing that I feel is important to understand about faith is that faith goes beyond formulas. I think in our community we have such incredible knowledge and wisdom at our disposal to understand God in this incredible way, the divine principle. And divine principle, if you haven't read it, it's written in a very kind of scientific way. And there's all these principles and formulas, and if you just follow these principles, you will be able to develop yourself, and it's really quite incredible. But while these principles and formulas are so profound and so amazing, it's important not to forget that in the end, we still have to always practice being in constant communication with God. John Eldridge, the author of this book, Wild at Heart, says, the problem with modern Christianity's obsession with principles is that it removes any real conversation with God. And I think this is true for us as well sometimes, is that we get so certain about principles and formulas that we forget the need to go to God with our questions, with our struggles, with our difficulties to develop that relationship of relying on God. Another aspect of what faith isn't is that faith is not based on how you feel. Faith is not an emotion. You can feel faithless. You can feel like you're lacking faith, but actually live with incredible faith. You can feel afraid and scared and anxious, but still live with faith. Because faith is not about never feeling fear in your life or never feeling anxious or worried, but faith is being able to decide to act in ways that is following your faith, following what you believe and know God is guiding you to do, regardless of how you feel. Regardless of the circumstances that you find yourself in, you're able to believe that God loves us, that God has our best interest in heart. And as long as we can follow that voice and connect with that voice of God, that we're going to be led to higher places. So let's talk about what faith is. The dictionary definition of faith, there's a few definitions out there, but these are some that I found. That faith is a firm belief in something for which there is no proof. Something that is believed, especially with strong conviction. So when we just take this definition of faith, we can see that this definition of faith can be applied not just in a religious context, but in all different areas of life. We see faith, and we even see people, in the secular world that they might not be religious at all, or they might not believe in God at all, but they have this incredibly strong faith. If we're talking about, right, this firm belief in something for which there is no proof, or something that is believed, especially with strong conviction. A couple examples of that is Elon Musk, right? He has a strong conviction in the future that humankind must someday become this interplanetary species, that we have to colonize planets like Mars. He believes that something is possible that has no evidence from the past that it's possible, right? There's nothing that we can look for in the past that says that is possible. And he lives this faith in this future through his actions and through his words. Another secular example is Steve Jobs. Right? He believed that Apple computers would revolutionize the way that we think about business, about the world, about the way that we think about computers. And again, this is not based off of anything that was happening before him or anything that evidence that he saw around him. It was just simply a conviction that he had in the future. So we can see how faith is something that's much larger than just religion. Faith is, when we have faith, we are able to accomplish such incredible things in life. So faith is incredibly powerful, but I think it's also important for us as people of faith, as people in this community, to think about, what or who do we have faith in? What is the object of our faith? Or do we have faith in, maybe we have faith in a certain ideas, or we have faith in a vision, or we have faith in ourselves. And I think all of these are important for us in our life, but ultimately, I think the most important thing is to have faith in a loving God. And I believe that at its core, when we talk about living a life of faith, we are talking about living a life where we have this constant relationship of trust with a living God. It says in the Divine Principle, faith is the path each person must walk in search of God. Faith should be nurtured through direct vertical relationship between God and each individual. So faith is really about trusting the integrity of God, trusting that God is a promise keeper, that God keeps his promises to his children, and trusting the greatness of God's love, that God really can love us to that extent. And I think part of that is also trusting that God is an actual living God, that God is not just this conceptual God, up there in the clouds or in our mind or in some book, but that God resides in our heart, in your heart and in my heart. And that we are actually able to form a real relationship with God, just like I'm able to form a relationship with you and get to know who you are, get to know what's on your heart and what's on your mind. And I can talk to you and ask you for advice in this relationship, and I can feel close to you. We are able to form that kind of relationship with God because God is a living God. So I want to talk about the power of faith. And what is the power of having this kind of relationship where we totally trust that God has our best interests in hand, in his heart? It says in Matthew, "For truly I say to you, if you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, you will move this mountain. Move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible to you." So Jesus is saying that, even if we have just a small amount of faith, we're able to do such huge and incredible things in our life. We're able to move mountains. We're able to move those things in our life that we feel are unmovable, right? And I think we all have things in our life that occur as unmovable to us, whether that be, your relationship with your children, or your relationship with your spouse, or your relationship with your coworkers, and it seems like that's just the way it is and that it's never going to move. Those are the mountains in our life that seem so unmovable. But what it says here is that it's when you have faith, if you can just believe that those mountains can be moved, then they can be moved. And we see so many incredible examples of how just the power of belief alone, just the power of faith, can accomplish such incredible things. One example of that is Martin Luther King. He's an incredible American hero and legend in our society for bringing people together to fight racism, bringing people together from all different races. And he didn't do this through hate or through blame or through violence or through blaming and attacking others. ultimately he was able to make such a huge impact in America because he had the faith that he could move something that seemed unmovable, right? Like it really seemed like the current relationship, like the relationships at that time between, blacks and whites was unchangeable to many people, but he had the faith that he could overcome. And, we all know his famous, I have a dream speech. But I believe that the dream that he saw was not just his dream alone, but it was a dream that he got from God. It was God's dream. And he trusted that God was backing him up. And because God was backing him up, he never backed down, even though it got difficult. And I wanted to share a prayer from Martin Luther King. He's praying. This is after he receives a telephone call from a white racist that's threatening his life, threatening his family, and he says his prayer. He says, "Lord, I am here taking a stand for what I believe is right, but now I am afraid. The people are looking to me for leadership, and if I stand before them without strength and courage, they too will falter. I am at the end of my powers. I have nothing left. I've come to the point where I can't face it alone." So in this, he's in this place of desperation, of feeling like his and his family's life is being threatened. But it's it's through this personal relationship that he has with God. He goes to God in this time of suffering, in this time where he's feeling like there's these dark clouds around, and he's able to find the strength to keep going. Just like a scared child would go to their own father when they're feeling scared, when they're feeling like they don't know what to do. He goes to God in his place of vulnerability. Many people don't know that George Washington was a very religious person, that he prayed constantly as he was leading this nation during the American Revolutionary War. He was a great general, but the thing that impresses me the most about him is his incredible faith that he had, that it was possible to again do something that was never done before in the history of mankind, to create a new country that would be ruled by this rule of law versus a monarch, to break away from the mother country of Great Britain. Where Dominic's from, and to and to start this new revolution that impacted so many countries. Some of the birth of new countries after America was established. Again, this is an example of a faith that can move a mountain. And I'm sure that there were many times in his battle, in his fight for this country, that he felt that things were not going to work out, that this was impossible. But it's through having that personal relationship with God that he's able to overcome. Of course, Father and Mother Moon have shown us a living example of what this looks like, to never give up despite what's happening. And I wanted to share just a few reports about Korea that show the incredible power of the faith that Father and Mother Moon had to move mountains. These reports were shared at the National Leaders Meeting this past Tuesday, and it kind of gives you a glimpse of some of the events that happened in Korea. The first one is given by Dr. Michael Jenkins, who's the president of the Universal Peace Federation, which, if you don't know, is an affiliate organization that brings people together, to influencers and politicians together for the sake of peace. So yeah, let's play that.
Dr. Michael Pillsbury is the preeminent scholar and expert on China. He's the number one in America, sought after all over the world. He wrote a book called The 100-Year Marathon. It was really an important book, and you can get it on audio or buy it. And he presented a copy to True Mother in Korean, which was really nice. But he speaks perfect Chinese. He spent years in China, and very, very distinguished. So what's interesting here, though, is we also had a congresswoman from the People's Republic of China, from the communist nation. And she was a congresswoman from Hong Kong. And, she spoke very straight also. She spoke that the greatest peacemaker in the world is Xi Jinping. She actually gave this amazing speech. The next day it was printed in the South China Morning News, which is the only English paper allowed in the communist China. And it printed her speech exactly and praised UPF. Then that night, Dr. Pillsbury wanted to meet Congresswoman Cho, who was brought by Thomas Wong. Very great meeting. And they laughed and they spoke Chinese for about an hour at dinner. And then at the end, Mrs. Ho told me, Mrs. Cho, that I really like UPF because you let the people speak exactly what they think. And that means we can really have dialogue. I'm going to recommend to Xi Jinping that more people come to the UPF conference. So she became a friend like that. And Dr. Pillsbury, though he's very honest about China, he also is very clear that we love the Chinese people. We want to bring peace. So we don't want to have war. So that think tank was very, very powerful.
Let's give it up for that. So yeah, that's just a short clip of, I just wanted to highlight this because I felt it was, it's so amazing to see, there's really no organization that I know that's out there that can bring together, people from a communist country like China, and America, and, the Prime Minister Hun Sen of Cambodia is also, it's a communist country, that can bring leaders like that together to talk about peace, right? And from the very beginning of UPF's founding, it was founded in 2005. Father and Mother Moon said, "This is what this organization is going to do. It's going to bring world leaders together to talk about peace." But at the time, it started from basically from nothing, right? It was only really in the last 5-10 years that we start to see prime ministers and senators and world leaders get involved with the UPF events, and that really shows just the power that they never gave up despite what it looked like on the ground. A second report that I want to show is by John Jackson. This is talking about the experience with bringing clergy to Korea.
And here, just 2 days before, Mother had opened this museum of True Parents' life. And this was just an amazing experience walking through that, watching the clergy learning and showing True Parents' life in America. They were blown away by this, by walking through True Parents' home. And of course, we had this incredible view as we were leaving the place to see, and we were looking forward to the dedication. But the day before, we went to the palace, and then the next day we went to Chongpadong, the church where True Parents were blessed. And there, myself and Dr. Moon and also Dr. Cho spoke to the Christian clergy and let them know kind of the spirit of True Parents in the early days and where they came from and what they were doing. And one clergy said, from this place we realized it was from wooden floors and chalkboards to marble temples. And so that's where True Parents, the progression, and you can't do that without God being involved. And then, so we took a picture, and then we went to the DMZ later. There we prayed, of course, for the unity of North and South Korea. YCLC had a particular and special focus on that issue. It was a great event. The next day we were at the blessing, and I figured the Blessed Family Department would share all that with you, so I just want to give you one picture. And then the next experience, we were invited to go to the Cheongwon dedication, which is why we went to Korea in the first place. Let me just put it this way. We had no idea where we were going to be. I asked a million times this question, where do you want us? Where can I go? Am I in the backyard, the side yard, the left, the right, front, or back? Nobody had an idea until the very next day. We got a call. God bless UPF, because it was UPF who were running that organization. And so what happened was we had this incredible experience where this is the first time I've ever done this water ceremony. And then Dr. Rouse and Dr. Abernathy were actually giving the invocation prayer. And it was an amazing experience. 120 people cut the ribbon at the ceremony to enter the Chomondun. And we had 20 clergy show up and cut the ribbon. 20. That's just, I would have been happy with 5 or 2 or even 1. But 20 clergy cut the ribbon. And Mother was standing there, she cut the ribbon and then turned around and walked directly into the holy sanctum itself. And guess what we did? Well, we followed her, of course, and walked into the holy sanctum with True Mother. She walked into the center of the room, and just like Dr. Jenkins was saying, a beam of light, like a shaft of light, just shone down directly in the center of the room, as if Mother's prayers were going directly to heaven, and the light of God was shining on everybody. It was amazing. And we're standing behind it. I'm telling you, I know I was behind this little bar, this little thing, but I felt like, I was floating on it, and it was incredible. As Mother was praying, you could tell the spirit of she revealed all these 14 different pictures that were made of resin and mother of pearl. They were amazing. They were huge, incredible things. And then she pressed the button and revealed all of them. And then she went to the very center where the altar itself would be. And she, look at this, you just can't look at it. There it is. There's the smile. The victory's been won. She offered her words to us and her victory. It was an amazing experience. And all of heaven and earth were celebrating in that moment. And I agree with Dr. Jenkins. Later on, she spoke to us and she said, God doesn't want to reside just in these 4 walls. Now, there's a place on the earth where God can stay permanently, can reside on this earth permanently, but ultimately God wants to be your permanent dwelling place, right? He wants you to be that permanent dwelling place. This was the last thing I saw, or I remember, in Korea with your mother. We went from that experience to this beautiful experience where she was just loving and smiling all over our young people.
All right. Let's give it up for our clergy, our ACLC, Reverend Jackson. So, I just wanted to, again, show just a little bit about what happened there in Korea. And it's just so amazing to see how far, our movement has come throughout the years. And a big part of why I went to Korea with many of the leaders in America was to see the dedication of this building. It's called the Chonwon-gun. It's a Korean name. When I was, this is a picture I took, so I was pretty close to the building. Truth is, like, when I was there, I had this battle inside of my mind. Have any of you ever felt this experience where you felt like you should be feeling something more, but you're not feeling it quite in that moment? So that was kind of my experience. Was I'm in front of this majestic building, and it was really hard for me to see something beyond just like the externals of it. To kind of get out of my own cynical external thinking mind in that moment. I think it was a long day, so that might have been part of it. But I'm looking at this building and I'm like, okay, like it's nice big building. It's nice and white. Okay. I wonder how much it costs. So like, this is my very external thinking is going on right now. I hope I'm not crazy for thinking that way, but as I'm there, I'm really kind of fighting with myself. Like I want to feel this moment. I want to feel what the significance of this, but it really took hearing from the reflections of the other leaders, to hear other perspectives, and to think about, where our true parents came from, to really understand the significance of this temple, this building. To think that our whole global movement started in a cardboard hut in Korea. Just two people, living together in a cardboard house that Father Moon built, um, literally with his own two hands, right? And in his lifetime and in Mother Moon's lifetime, they developed this movement into something where we could build something that's so amazing like this, right? And to offer this up to God as a permanent testament, it's more than a building, but it's a testament of faith of what is possible. That when we look at this, we can feel like, wow, the incredible faith that Father and Mother Moon needed to make this possible. We can't imagine the amount of times that somebody might, people must have told Mother Moon that this was just not possible. Like, it's not feasible. We can't do it because of this, because of that. But no matter what, she kept the faith that we're going to make this happen, and she made it happen. And not just the faith of Father and Mother Moon, but also the faith of many brothers and sisters who believed that this was possible. So I want to just finish with growing our faith. How do we grow our faith? I think most of us, we're not at that level of faith that Father and Mother Moon are at to really believe in such huge things. But we can start somewhere. And where do we start? It says in Proverbs, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not rely on your own insight. In all your ways, acknowledge him and he will make straight your path. And I really think this is where it begins, is just try trusting God in your life with whatever you're going through in your life, whatever challenges you're going through. Look at yourself and really be honest with yourself. Have you trusted God with that part of your life? Maybe you've been relying on yourself, relying on your own abilities, or relying on your intellect or your will. But have you really brought that area of your life fully to God and offered it up, the experience, your desires, your hopes to God about that area of your life? Maybe it's your family or your career or your health, your dreams. There's nothing too big or too small to talk to God about and to offer up to God. And so one last piece of advice is your faith will only be as big as your commitment requires it to be. So what this means is that if you want to grow your faith, you have to be committed to something. Reality is, it's just not necessary to have a big faith unless you have a big commitment in your life. If you are living a life where you are just seeking to be comfortable and keep things the way that they are, then having a greater faith is just not necessary. But when you are committed to something beyond what you see right now, to take your family to another level, to take your relationships, to take your finances to another level, that's when faith becomes a must and a requirement. So we need to create opportunities for God that force us to rely on God and to have that conversation with God. And that means getting out of our comfort zone and going into sometimes difficult circumstances that we need to be in so that we can talk to God about it. We can force ourselves to feel that necessity to be with God. So I want to just close just to say thank you. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for your faith. I think sometimes I might be that unmovable mountain for some people, but you guys are really, your faith in me is what allows me to do this, to move, to always strive to be better. And I know that there are some major changes happening in our movement. Dr. Yong, he's been called back to Korea. And now Kimi's also, been going to change his mission. Damien's coming back. And, personally for me, it was very it was very hard to hear that news. I was really shocked, and you know, Dr. Young and now Kimi were a big part of why I moved back to America to be in this leadership role, because I felt so much hope in seeing their leadership and seeing what they're doing. And I'm just so grateful for Dr. Young, what he shared with all of us, his incredible faith that he had in all that he has in all of us, in True Parents, and now Kimi as well. There's going to be times where there's going to be challenges. There's going to be times when what we see is not what we necessarily want to see, right? Even with our own community vision, sometimes things are going to look very different. It's going to look like, where is God working right now? But it's in these storms that happen in our life that we're forced to look inside and to go deeper in our relationship with God, and to cling on to God and hold tight onto God and to each other as well. So, yeah, I just wanted to just end there and say thank you. God bless you, and have a great week. God bless you.
Well, thank you, Pastor Justin. There was a lot there, a lot to think about. So let's have a couple of minutes of reflection, and then we'll get into our little pair share. Okay. So, why don't you find another person or a group of three and share your inspirations and thoughts about this last sermon? Many things there, so I'll give you a notice to switch after about a minute. I know that's too short of a time, but if you haven't switched, you can switch now. I don't want to stop anybody. That's my job, I suppose. I don't see anybody sitting there looking bored, not knowing what to talk about. And I see also groups of 3 and 4. So I know there were some big inspirations that you all had from this message today. So who would like to give a little mini speech for the whole community? You have a captive audience here, or a 1-minute sharing. Mike Chapman.
Okay, I'll make this one short. Mr. LaValle and I were discussing things, going back and forth. And I think one of the issues that came up was learning Korean. We both have Korean wives. And there was, I've made attempts in the past to actually learn Korean, and things got busy and crazy, and I was not able to continue it. But actually, there is a way to do it. And Jack was giving me some good tips on that. And I think, I got to make some progress.
Me too, except for me, it's Korean and Japanese. Okay, thank you, Mike. Anybody else? I want to hear from one of the Mizuguchis. You can take a pick. I think Yosuke's a good candidate.
Do I have to stand? I think something I took away, or I was just thinking about the new change in leadership, and I feel like a big issue is usually we tend to easily judge the new leader of who he is and how he guides or how he leads the nation. But I think it's also like our own responsibility to have faith and trust in the leadership and to be able to unite with the leadership. And I think things don't go right because of our lack of faith and unity in like this type of leadership. So I thought it was really amazing to hear about. It really comes from us and our responsibility to have faith and trust in this new type of leadership to really create change in the movement that I think True Mother really desires. So, yes.
Thank you. Yes, I really wanted to hear from this group of ladies who is over there. Irma looks like the one. Good, Mike.
When we look at the temple that Mother has built, it's fascinating because the first temple was destroyed by the Philistines, and the second temple was by the Romans, if I'm not mistaken. So it's faith. They didn't realize that they couldn't destroy your faith. Only you can destroy your faith. They thought that by destroying the physical temple, they will destroy your faith. But when we looked at what Solomon asked for, when God said, well, what is it you want? Solomon was the son of Bathsheba. And he said, wisdom. And so when he became king, that's what he had. But even though he became king and had wisdom, he had all these 300 people. I'm not going to go into that. But then he said, vanity of vanities. It's all vanity. Because after a while, he was following all those concubines and wives and their own, So the faith that he had and asked for wisdom, I should say, almost got destroyed. So this is what I would like to contribute.
Well, thank you. Well, that was amazing. 3 sharings I completely didn't expect. So thank you, everybody. I'm sure there's more amazing understandings and little snippets of wisdom which you have to share with each other. But this comes to the end of our service. Don't forget to have a look at the tag sale on your way out. And don't forget, our community garden is still waiting for some participation. And if you haven't been there for a couple of weeks, I know Bill and Tycho's done eager to get out there. There's a lot of stuff that's been done, and it's becoming much more beautiful and much more, things are growing. So with that, let's finish with a closing song. Let's welcome up the song team.
우리에서 오른 토기 우리에서 오른 토기 이곳은 마셔서 One, two, three, four. Our cherished hopes are for unity. Our dreams are for unity. We'll give our lives for unity. On unity. Unity, saving the people. Unity, saving the nation. On unity. Come along, unity. Come along, unity. One more time. Come along, unity. Great Sunday. God bless. Go in peace. Check your emails for what's happening next Sunday.